This is Anthony Nunez, and today I'm going to be talking about one of the real estate documents, which is called the Agency Disclosure Form. What is the Agency Disclosure Form? So, agency is related to the agent who is representing the buyer or seller in a real estate transaction. So, you're trying to figure out where is the agent's loyalty. Is it with the buyer? Is it with the seller? Do they have some type of some other agreement? Right? Where's the loyalty? Now, when they're talking about the agent, they are talking about it in terms of the document in the form of the company. Okay, so the brokerage. So in this case, we'll just call it ABC Realty, but you know all the big names in your area. And the salesperson or the person you're probably working with is thus an extension of the company. So that salesperson works for a specific company. The company is what this document will be referring to as the agent, okay? Real estate professionals are required to attempt to get a signature from their client acknowledging that they know how they are being represented. So if you are out there buying or selling or engaging in real estate, right, you should know where your agent's loyalty lies. Is he representing you as the buyer? Is he representing the seller? Is there a dual agency agreement? So is that brokerage representing both the buyer and the seller in the transaction? Are you working with a broker agent, right? In New York State, it's required that you receive this form. It's not a contract, though. It's more so an acknowledgement letter so that you know where the agent's loyalty is residing. When should a person receive this disclosure form? So the disclosure form should be received at the first substantive contact. What does that mean? Well, if you guys met up for coffee to talk about real estate and you're talking about you want to buy this property, then that's when they should at some point give you this agency disclosure form, because that's face to face. Or if you are coming from a different state and you say, hey, listen, I'm thinking about buying this. Let's go see these properties. I'll be there next week. Well, you should get an email saying with the agency disclosure form so that everything's ready to go. Phone, open house, right? At an open house, you'll probably see the agency disclosure forms on the table next to either the digital or paper sign-in. And the open house disclosure forms are probably going to show that the agent is representing the seller. So when you go in, it will probably say that the agent is representing the seller, or they will talk to you about possibly engaging in dual agency. What are the duties of the agent, right? Well, they have to have obedience, loyalty, they got to give disclosure, they got to protect your confidentiality, they have to have accountability, reasonable care, and diligence. Okay, so these are the things you should be expecting from the person or the real estate professional serving you. What does this form look like? So in front of you, you have the form for New York State. Okay, this is a far away view. I'm going to zoom in on this view, and you'll see that when we zoom in, it says pretty clearly that this is not a contract. You see this? This is not a contract. However, it is good to know where the agent's loyalty lies. Is it resting with the buyer, or is the agent representing the seller? You should know this as you're engaging in the transaction. All right? If you have any questions, you can always call customer service at the Department of State, or you can visit their website if you want to see the form for yourself and take your time reading the form. This is the back of the form. So I'll spend some time on the back of the form because this is where the person looking for help with real estate, whether you're the seller or the buyer, will be signing. So I'll zoom in a bit. And this is what it looks like once we zoom in. So this form was provided to me by the salesperson or the broker's name, right? The person. Now this is the name. and they're representing the company or the brokerage. So in this case, Peter from ABC Realty, licensed real estate broker, is acting in the interest of. All right. Now you see all these lines where now we can start to fill out the checks, right? We can start checking off what this representation would look like. So if you walk in to an open house, for example, the box that should be checked off by the agent that greets you is the seller, right? Because when you're walking in, the listing agent, if they are the listing agent, is representing the seller, right? They have the seller's best interest at hand. They want to get the seller the best possible price, the best possible term in the seller's interest, okay? Now, let's say that before walking into this open house, you met up with a different agent, and that agent helped you find a property and mentioned to you that there's an open house and accompanied you to the open house. Then they are representing you as a buyer's agent, because when they were having that conversation with you, inquiring about what do you desire for in a property, and they're looking out for your price, and they want to get you the best possible price with the best possible terms in the neighborhood you want, then that is the buyer's agent. He or she is looking out for your best interest as a buyer. However, sometimes, especially sometimes you have what's called dual agency, okay, dual agent. So this is when a company has a salesperson or people representing both the seller with the listing. So you have the listing agent representing the seller, trying to get the best possible price for the seller, and you may have someone else from the same company, right, representing the buyer, who is also trying to get the best deal for the buyer, and they have to acknowledge that both these agents are in the same company, and it's a dual agency scenario, or if you are representing both, okay? Now, when you represent both, you have to keep in mind that, you at this point, you can't play the deal to your benefit, right? So if you know that the seller is willing to go on as low as $250,000 on a deal, and the buyer is willing to go as high as $255,000, you can't manipulate those numbers, right? You have to. The listing agent's going to act in the best interest of the seller. The buyer's agent's going to act in the best interest of the buyer. Or if you're representing both, then you just let them coordinate whatever the financial part of the deal is, and you just let them know of all the components of the deal. You're just letting them know. It's a little bit different when you're in the dual agency, right? And they're given advance consent. So if you're in this scenario, you click an advance consent because you know it's coming, and then you have the people that are appointed here. Now, sometimes you get what's called a broker's agent. So this is someone else that gets assigned. You don't see that common in New York, but that's someone else that gets assigned. So if you see that checked off, just ask them more information about the broker agent. What's that scenario playing out for whoever's representing you, okay? And then at the bottom, you will see that it says if dual agent with designated sales is indicated, then you would put the person's name is appointed to represent the buyer, and blank is appointed to represent the seller in the transaction, okay? So they have to make it clear here. And then finally, we acknowledge the receipt of the copy of the disclosure. So you're putting your name and you're signing off in the bottom, whether you're the buyer or the seller. So again, you're not really stressing this form. It's not a contract. So again, it's not a contract, but you do want to know where the agent's loyalty is going to rest. Is the agent's loyalty with the buyer or the seller? So you just want to know that we have to have it signed off. If you're a realtor, you have to have it signed. So now you know why you see the realtors showing this document and requesting that you sign it, even though it's not a contract. it's still good that you know where the agent's loyalty will reside. Okay, so please subscribe to my channel and send comments and suggestions. This video was created for educational purposes. Please consult with your local professionals for any case-by-case financial assistance or real estate advice.